So the start of turn 3. Seems like I'm moving very slowly, only on turn 3. That's because I'm doing a lot of yammering and explaining. So now that we have the feel of the game and the basic understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, I think I'm going to try to speed things up a little. So I'll draw chits, and once I've determined which chit is going to move, I'm going to move them as rapidly as possible. Let's get started with our first chit. After a lot of draws and die rolls to change up command, turns out we're stuck with Napoleon moving first. He rolled once to delay his move and then, unfortunately, drew again. So Napoleon has the artillery and the guard here, as well as one division from Desaix's command. We're not going to move, we're just going to fire the artillery and bombard. We rolled very well. We actually inflicted 3 hits, but artillery can't destroy pieces. So we will only change that guy to spent, and then he will retreat. And that'll be it for Napoleon's command chit. The next chit drawn is O'Reilly's right command. So we will just... These are only 2 units here, so we're going to just reposition them a bit. And the next chit pull is Lan's command. Murat successfully delayed his move, so our next chit is center command Melis for the Austrians. The next chit is Victor's command. Next is Murat's command. Down to the last two commands. Murat and then the left for the Austrians. Have we conducted a charge yet? I think I'm going to charge the French cavalry here. And then they can make contact and conduct a attack off the movement. Each side rolled 2 hits. And for the French, for the Austrians rather, that means this piece is killed. He's already spent, so 2 hits destroys him. The French, the first hit is absorbed because this is an elite unit. So he really only suffers 1 hit and it goes to spent. So that will be his movement. And then I would just like to rally that guy to fresh. And that'll leave us with our final command chit, L for the left wing of the Austrians. So we move on to the combat portion of our turn. We see only 1 set of enemy combatants are in contact here. But this is cavalry against infantry. So I'm going to choose to retreat the French cavalry. I think I can get him behind that infantry there. Since they're already spent, I don't want to risk taking another loss. So with that, that'll be the end of our turn. Much quicker this time, but we're still avoiding combat. I think the French are getting pretty close to making their first stand here. That'll be it, and we'll move on to our next turn. Turn 4, and the Austrians are a little behind schedule. They have not been able to bring the French to ground and have actually already lost one of their own pieces. So we will continue with our draws and movements. Our first chit is L for the Austrian left wing, left column. They were unable to change their order, so they will go ahead and have to move. Our next chit is Napoleon. He did not attempt to change his order, because he is going to fire the artillery right here at that unit. Next chit is Melis. He had already once before delayed his move, so he has no choice but to go forward now. Artillery out of range. Artillery's out of range. Next chit is Victor's Command. Then Murat. Next hit is the right column for the Austrians. I really have to start remembering to remove my headquarters. And the final chit is Lans. completion of the chit pulls, now we have our combat. We have a number of pieces in contact this turn. From the left here, lawn, all the way through the middle and onto the middle right. Now the French get to choose your order of fires. So I don't think it matters because we don't have any artillery in support. So we're just going to start firing right here. Good rolls for the Austrians, poor for the French. So 2 hits causing a retreat here. Now these pieces fire, and this has a bonus and this has a detriment, but still this piece rolled 2 hits on the French, but the French rolled 3 hits on that piece, so that means they're destroyed. And that's rough because that's the half of that command, so they'll be ineffective, but they got the French to retreat. Now the French would end up like that. They're not allowed to. They just have to keep going. I think they can get to there. Maybe it's most appropriate to put them right there. But sort of a mixed result. Pushed back a couple of French units, but took some casualties. We'll shoot here next. This is definitely the bad spot for the French because they're unsupported. Good rolls for both sides. Spent 2 hits for each, so spent and a retreat. And the Austrians will also be spent and have to retreat. I think they have to keep going to get on the other side of that piece. So no blood, but could potentially set them up for next turn. Now here we have 2 French infantry and 2 Austrian infantry. The supporting infantry is a grenadier, so if they get to a second round, that'll be an advantage for them. Only 1 casualty, or hit I should say. Austrians are definitely throwing some good dice. So that'll be the end of that round. The French are going to retreat this unit out of contact rather than face another round of combat. So that'll break contact and end that combat. That'll give us 1 more here. I think these are both infantry, but that French infantry is supported by the cavalry. Austrians roll 1 hit, so they will move that guy to spent, but the French get 2 hits. So they'll be spent and then have to retreat. I think you have to get behind that unit in order to retreat his full distance. So that'll be it for our turn 4. Some combats. French are getting roughed up a little bit, lots of spent units. That means they'll have to either run away in spent position or rally and risk getting hit by the advancing Austrian artillery. But the Austrians did lose another piece. So now they've lost 2 pieces to 0 for the French. So we'll move on to the next turn. Turn 5 we'll see the final French reinforcement arrive. That'll be Desaix's command. So we'll have another chit to put in the cup. So we'll just pull our first chit. Our first chit is the Austrian right column. they have lost one unit of their command, which makes them ineffective, that they won't be able to rally if they get into trouble. But we need to attack. Second chit pull is Victor, and a switch with the Austrian artillery in range of the French. The Austrian commander Melis tried to jump, change the turn order, and he failed. So Victor will get to move. Next is Murat. Again, the Austrians tried to jump the move with their artillery in range. They were trying to fire at least from the left here, and they failed. So Murat will get to move. So Murat conducted numerous charges, almost all legal, because I'm so slack in moving my headquarters. But maybe the important thing is that he is still in contact with this unit here, which is the artillery. So Champeau may take a beating from that artillery when it fires, but we likely kill it in the next turn. Actually, I think I need to displace Ott. He's not allowed to have Kellerman run right through him. He would have to have retreated. The next chit drawn was Austrian Melis, but Napoleon used his superior command to jump in front of that move. So he's going to move, and then Melis will move. Not allowed to move that. Unfortunately messed up some pieces over here. But that should do it. Next chit is to say his reinforcements will arrive. Next, the Austrian left column. I was a little unclear on the movement there. I wanted to get that artillery out of contact so they wouldn't be killed. I couldn't tell if they were permitted to move through any of these areas. Not sure if there's any such thing as like a column march. So I just pivoted and fired. And the final chit is for Lan. I think I'll allow myself to cheat a little. This is part of Tesei's command. I should have moved him when I had the chance. So I'm just going to rally him. Of course, relocate the headquarters. So there, that's our chit draw, and we can move on to combat. Combats are here in the center. I think we'll choose to fight here first. Kellerman is elite, so he absorbs the one hit the Austrians managed, but he inflicts 2 hits, so kills those dragoons. And the Austrians can decide to move that unit up in support, but too big of a risk right now. They're going to leave them right there. So I'll end that contact and that combat. Next is here. This is Austrians attacking the French. And the French have an artillery in support behind their consular guard against the grenadiers for the Austrians. So 2 elite units plus the artillery in support. French manage 1 hit, which is absorbed. Austrians manage 2 hits, the first of which is absorbed. So now we have the Consular Guard a little vulnerable. So the French are going to retreat, and supporting artillery retreats automatically. So millimeters matter, and I find myself always bumping the pieces, so that's a problem. So with the broken contact, that combat is over. We have the last one here. Both units are supported. Each side inflicts a loss. I think I'm permitted to retreat this unit and then advance the supporting unit. And the French are going to retreat this unit. They're not going to advance. So that'll end our combat, and that'll end our 5th turn. So the French are making some gains here on the right with the cavalry, but they're also spent. So it might be hard to finish off there. Victor is holding fast, and now with the Say arriving, they might have a real advantage here on the left. Austrians lost another piece. The French still have not lost a piece. So the grind is kind of favoring the French right now.